Now, you might not know this about me, but I really love technology. And there's one area that I'm especially excited about these days, and that's artificial intelligence, or AI, specifically related to art generation. So as we started publishing more and more sublimation designs, we started experimenting with AI art tools for inspiration and to speed up our design process. Since then, we've learned a lot about how to use AI art generators for craft projects. With the right approach and some practice, these tools can really help you create a collection of reusable designs, even if you don't consider yourself artistically talented or don't have access to super pricey software. So today I want to show you how to generate AI art that you can use in your craft business, both practically and ethically. If you're unfamiliar with artificial intelligence and generators, I have a great workshop available at jennifermaker.com/AI-art. But here is a very, very brief introduction for you for what you need to know today. AI art generation isn't magic. It requires software or a tool to create new images and your input, which is called a prompt. There are a lot of generators out there, many of which I teach in my AI art workshop, but I'll show you how to use Adobe Firefly today. Why Adobe Firefly? Because while Firefly is relatively new and still developing, it's also the most ethical and professional tool that I have found so far. And that's important when it comes to business use. So why should you consider ethics in using AI art in your crafts? Well, these generators aren't robots that come up with things on their own. When we say AI-generated art, we're talking about art that's been made with the help of machine learning, which is actually a subset of AI. Developers train these algorithms on a vast amount of content and data. Eventually, the tool can make decisions and predictions based on what it's learned. Then it can create new content based on user input or the descriptive prompt that you type in. That's why you can tell a generator to create the letter J made of sunflowers, like this example. It's really pretty, isn't it? But how did the generator learn what a sunflower and even the letter J look like so it could create this design? It looked at all of the information its developers fed it. And for some generators, that information comes from all over the internet, regardless of an image's source, ownership, and licensing. There are many instances where this might not seem like an issue, like our simple sunflower. I mean, sunflowers are natural things and they're everywhere, right? But how would you feel if a generator scooped up a photo that you took of a sunflower in your garden? Like this sunflower photo that I took on our farm. Or what if it found an image of your original sunflower painting you've listed for sale and applied your carefully chosen colors to this result? That's just one area where the ethics of AI art get murky and upsetting for many people too. And it's more apparent as AI users create more specific prompts, even using the names of artists to apply their specific style to a subject. There are a lot of art generators that allow you to add the styles of Van Gogh, Andy Warhol, Frida Kahlo, and many other artists, which I totally get. One of the reasons AI generators are so exciting is playing with different styles you don't have the materials or skills to create on your own. I love Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers, and making a floral J that looks like he painted it is super tempting. For the moment, let's pretend his work is still under copyright. It isn't, but let's pretend it is. Is making a prompt using his name ethical? And while there may be many ways that the Van Gogh estate is being correctly compensated for the artist's talent and artistic contributions, this is extra troubling when AI generators use living, working artist creations and lets people make files that look just like their paintings or other art forms. Then it is totally possible to effectively take potential sales away from an artist, and I know none of us want to do that. And of course, it could also mean getting in trouble, and I know we don't want that either. Now, the best way to avoid doing this is to use a generator that you've thoroughly researched. And that's why I'm showing you how to use Adobe Firefly today. It's pretty new and very exciting. Adobe trained Firefly only on Adobe stock images, openly licensed content, and designated public domain content, like specifically, not just everything on the internet, like so many other AI art generators do. So that means it should not be able to create derivative works from any other artist that has not given its permission to use their work. That should mean it's safe for us as business owners. Adobe Firefly also has information on how to sell items made using the generated results. So Adobe Firefly is the AI art tool that I am most comfortable recommending for business owners currently. Even with this generator, I really want you to avoid putting an artist's name in your prompt, but I'll talk about that more in a bit. Another thing you want to consider if you want to sell items decorated with AI art is copyright. By the way, disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer and this is not legal advice. Please always check the terms of service for any tool you use, especially because they're changing so frequently right now. Okay, the legalities of AI art's copyright and ownership are very up in the air right now. In most countries, copyright goes to a work's creator. In traditional art, this is a human, right? Since AI is a tool and not a human, it's been argued that AI-generated art may not be eligible for copyright protection. And at the time I'm making this video, in November 2023, there is no copyright protection for works created by non-humans, including machines. Therefore, the product of generative AI models cannot be copyrighted. Let me say that again. AI art cannot be copyrighted currently. For those of us in the US, according to the US Copyright Office, AI-generated art is not eligible for copyright protection. The USCO only acknowledges work authored by humans. So if you can't copyright AI artwork, can you use it for commercial products? This is an important question. Without proper legislation, commercial use can be risky, honestly. Even if the copyright issue is decided soon, which seems unlikely to me, different generators will have different rules, so always recheck their terms of service. But good news, the Adobe Firefly tool and the plan that I'm going to show you today does currently allow commercial use as long as you follow their guidelines, which is awesome for us. Another ethical question is whether or not using AI to mass produce graphics could overshadow or undervalue human artists. Honestly, I don't think AI-generated art is going to wipe out original and human-created art at all. I understand this concern, especially from working artists and designers, but none of the previous technological advances have destroyed the creative sector. When Photoshop came out, many people were afraid that it would put photographers out of business. Instead, more people came to photography and image generation. Just like Photoshop when it first started, AI art generators are tools that we can use to expand our creativity and our output to go further and to do more. I believe in embracing these changes and learning how to use them effectively and ethically. And that's what we're going to do today to make these pretty tumblers. I'm going to show you how I generated the designs using Adobe Firefly to sublimate skinny tumblers with these pretty glittery initials. Sublimation tumblers are a very popular thing to sell. Step 1, get or prepare a sublimation design. If you want to use my collection of glittery letters, numbers, and symbols, go to jennifermaker.com/699. You can either download right from that link by saving the project, or download from my entire free design collection. Look for libraries in the red bar at the top, and then click either get a password or enter the library. Search the page for design number 699 and click the link to download the designs. But I'll also show you how to create them yourself using the Adobe Firefly AI Art Generator. Since Adobe Firefly is pretty new at the time of this recording, some details and screens might be different when you're following these steps later on. To access the tool, go to jennifermaker.com/adobe-firefly in your desktop's browser. At the time I'm making this video, there is a free plan and a premium plan. The free plan has only 25 credits, watermarks your results, and has other limitations. But the free plan is great for trying out the service and learning. That said, you'll want the premium plan if you plan to use this for your craft business. If you don't already have a paid Adobe Creative Cloud account, that does include access to Firefly tools, which I know some of you may already have if you're designers, then I recommend signing up for the premium Firefly plan. You can try the monthly plan to see if you like the tool, but the annual subscription does save you a few dollars. Adobe might offer other products, but just choose what you think you'll use. At the time of this recording, the plan is available with monthly or annual pricing and lets you generate up to 100 results monthly without watermarks. Again, this might change in the future, so please review the plans, terms of use, and other details before signing up. Once you're signed in, go to firefly.adobe.com and click Generate under Text Effects. You can see some of their examples and hover over them to see the prompt that they used. There are fields at the bottom to make your own. I want to make an alphabet, so let's type A in the text field. For the prompt field, describe the look that you want. I'll type glitter and then click Generate to see how Firefly does. A new screen will load with your results after a few seconds. Firefly gives us 4 results by applying the prompt to the text. If you don't like any of them, click Refresh to get new options. Just be aware that in the future, this might take a credit from your account like your first set did. Once the tools start using credits, you can click your account icon in the upper right corner to see how many credits you have. There are some sample prompts and controls to the side, including match shape, font, and color options. The match shape section controls how close the effect, in this case glitter, goes beyond the letter's edges. It defaults to medium, where you might see a few pieces in the background. If you click Loose, the Generate button will show up below your result. Click that to see the difference. I don't want that because I want my initial to look clean on the white tumbler, but it's a fun technique to play with. I'll use Tight because that keeps all of the glitter within the letter's boundaries. You can also get different results by selecting another font example and then clicking Generate. Again, remember that will likely use a credit in the future. But I'm going to stick with Acumen Pro. Under Color, change the background color to white and keep the text color the white box with a red line, meaning you don't want any color on the letter. Overall, I like the result of Acumen Pro with the tight match shape and those color settings. When you have the look you want, click the box with the arrow icon in the upper section of the canvas and click Download. A pop-up will show about content credentials, which is data that Adobe embeds in the download file that explains its AI origin and other details. I recommend reviewing the link for the most up-to-date information. And click Continue and your file will download. To make the rest of the collection, keep the same settings but change the text field to a capital B and click Generate again. Select the one that you like the best and that looks the most similar to the letter A that you already generated. If you don't like any of them, click Refresh for new results. And download that one too. Keep going to generate and download all of the letters, numbers, and punctuation symbols that you need. The punctuation marks did give me some weird results, so you might have to adjust your settings or click Refresh to try again. Step 2, prepare and print your sublimation design. I'm using 20-ounce skinny tumblers, but it's always a good idea to measure your blank before sizing your design. The special tape measure in my list makes it really easy. Just feed the small edge through the window like a belt and then put it around the tumbler. Put it back in the holder if you're using one. Carefully pull the edges away from each other, keeping it straight. Make it tight. The number at the arrows is your circumference. Even a slight angle or looseness can really throw off your design size. For full coverage designs, it's important to make sure your seam looks nice. But since we're making a statement design without a seam, we want the initial to be legible without needing to turn the tumbler too much. If it's too wide, the design will wrap around further than we can see it, and so we don't want that. Of course, your project is totally up to you, but if you want to see the initial without rotating the cup, we need to measure just part of the curved surface. So take the tape off the tumbler, Undo the loop and look straight down on the cup. Place the tape's arrows at one side of where you want the design to start, then curve it straight across the cup horizontally. Pick the number to the right where you want the design to stop. I want my letters to be 3.5 inches wide at the most. Then use the tape to measure the height just in case yours is different than mine. Keep it straight and don't include any area without the sublimation coating, like the metal lip. Mine is 8 inches tall, so that will work perfectly. Also, estimate how tall you want the design to be by measuring your target area. About 3.5 inches tall looks good to me. You can use your preferred tool to prepare a few initials for print sublimation, but I like Google Docs because it's free and easy. So open Google Docs in the Google Chrome web browser. I prefer to use the browser over the app since mobile devices can't work with printer profiles and other helpful features. Google Docs is free, but you will need a free Google account to use it. Visit the Google Docs website for more information at jennifermaker.com/Google-Docs. Click on Blank to open a new document. Now I know materials and time are money for a small business, so let's set things up to print 3 designs on one sheet of sublimation paper, plus make the placement easier later. Go to the File menu and select Page Setup. Under Orientation, select Landscape. Then change your margins to 0 and your paper size to match your sublimation paper size. Mine is 8.5 inches. Next, go to the Insert menu, select Image, and then select Upload from Computer. Locate the letter PNG that you want to use from the folder that you downloaded. It's probably in your Downloads folder. And then click Open. I'll start with the letter A for my daughter Alexa. First, we'll use the crop tool to get rid of the extra white space so we can control the letter's dimensions directly. Click the design and then select the crop icon in the toolbar, which looks like a square with some extra lines at 2 corners. Hover your cursor over the top of the bounding box where there is a black rectangle. Your cursor will turn into an arrow. Click and drag down to see a thin line where the cropping will happen until you're almost at the top of the letter. Release the mouse and your design will change so there's very little white at the top. Use the same steps to crop the excess white area on the other 3 sides. Then press Enter to accept the cropping. To resize the letter, right-click on the image, then select Image Options. Make sure the lock aspect ratio is checked and change the height field to fit your design area. I'll make mine 3.5 inches tall. I want to add 2 other initials without overlapping, so select the A and then click the Wrap text icon at the bottom right here. Now when I click Insert to add a J and resize it the same way, it sits next to the A. Remember to select the Wrap text icon at the bottom of the J too. Add your final initial the same way. I'll add the letter M. Even though they're the same height as the J, the A and the M look like they'll wrap too far around the tumblers. If you want to check, print the designs on plain paper, trim the edges, and tape them face up on your tumblers. You can get a sneak peek without using up sublimation supplies. This is where using your own designs really helps because you're in charge. Back in Google Docs, I'm going to make the A and the M designs 3.5 inches wide because I want the letters to be legible without turning the tumbler. Now that the A and M will be legible, let's make the J closer to 3 inches tall so everything looks more cohesive. Of course, you can decide which look you prefer and adjust the initials accordingly. Then select each letter one at a time and use your left and right arrow keys to even out the white space in between them. We'll use the paper's height and straight top and bottom edges to help align each design on a tumbler, so making columns like this works well. But I want the initials roughly centered top to bottom on the tumbler, and right now they'd be at the top. So click each letter one at a time and move it down using your down arrow key on your keyboard. Try to line up the bottom edges to make the results cohesive. Click File and Rename to save your work, and you are now ready to print. There are so many different printer, software, and device combinations. So your setup or preferences may be very different from mine, but you can reference the steps in my sublimation design printing tutorial at jennifermaker.com/sublimation print method that best fits your printer. Just remember to mirror or flip your design, print at high quality, and load your sublimation paper correctly. Here's how my printed initials look. Once your print is complete and dry, use a paper cutter to separate the letters into 8.5-inch tall rectangular designs. Try to cut them with even white space between each initial and keep the letters straight. Step 3. Prepare your print and tumbler for sublimation. Now, if you haven't already, take the cover off the tumbler so you can easily reach inside the cup and it won't melt. Then use a lint-free cloth with some rubbing alcohol to clean the tumbler for a better transfer. Place the sublimation print face up on your work surface so the upper edge is at the top. I'll start with the letter A. Grab your heat-resistant tape and cut a few pieces that you can easily pick up. If you have a tumbler holder, this is a great time to use it. Place the tumbler in the holder or on your work surface with the opening at the top. If there's a spot that seems like the back, just keep that section down. Hold the design face down over the tumbler. Make sure the print is correctly oriented, especially since it has a letter. Line up the paper's top edge with the sublimation section right below the tumbler's lip. Make sure it's straight because this is how we'll keep the letter straight too. Use a piece of heat-resistant tape to keep the top edge in place. Once the top is really secure, use your fingers to smooth the design straight down to the tumbler's bottom. The paper will extend past the tumbler edge a little bit, but you should still be able to tell if it's straight. Use tape to secure the paper's lower section tight to the tumbler's bottom edge. Make sure the straight edges of the paper aren't skewed, and your initial will still be in the right spot. Then smooth from the initial's middle out to the right edge and tape the paper in place. Repeat for the left edge too. Once the design can't shift, you can add more tape around the sides for extra security. Step 4. Transfer your sublimation print. Now, I've tried several methods for sublimating straight tumblers, and I prefer to use a dedicated convection oven with a little help from some shrink wrap tubing and a heat gun. If you use this oven for sublimation, remember it's officially your sublimation oven. The dye will spread throughout the machine and it's not safe to cook in again. Before you begin, pull out any racks other than the bottom tray and place a heat-resistant silicone mat on it to protect the surface. Also, open a window or turn on your fan to improve your ventilation. When I consult my sublimation cookbook for tumblers, it says to preheat the convection oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. I like to put an oven thermometer right in the center to make sure the temperature is correct. While waiting for the convection oven to come up to temperature, wrap the tumbler with a piece of white butcher paper for a little protection. A few pieces of heat-resistant tape will keep it secure. Some sublimation tumblers come with shrink wrap tubes, but not all do. If you order them separately, be sure they're the right size to easily fit your tumbler's width. Open up a shrink wrap tube and pull it over your tumbler. Put on your heat-resistant gloves and use your heat gun on a low setting to slowly heat the wrap so it conforms to the tumbler. Make sure most of the wrinkles are smooth, but don't make it too tight or it will pull apart in the oven. Place the tumbler in the center of the oven. Heat it for 1.5 minutes, and then, with your gloves on carefully, turn it 180 degrees. Repeat that process until it's been heated for 6 minutes. Once the time is up, put your gloves back on to remove the hot tumbler and place it on a heat-safe surface. Let it sit for a few minutes until it's cool. Then remove the shrink wrap or bands, tape, and paper layers. Step 5, show it off. And there's your beautiful tumbler ready for a customer. So, what do you think? Are you ready to give it a try? If you're willing to tackle this new technology, AI art can totally be a game changer for you and your business. But I also want you to be aware of the business opportunities and ethical challenges with AI generators so you can be safe as we move forward into this new medium. And the thing is, AI art is an evolving field, and the idea of what is and is not ethical is evolving right alongside it. So this is what I feel is currently the best practices. Just know that those practices may change over time as we learn more and we get better tools. Once you start using AI art generators, I encourage you to be transparent about it. Always disclose the origins of a piece of AI art because authenticity matters. Being honest about using generators also helps keep expectations realistic too, right? If you look at our projects, you'll note that I've always told you when the designs have been made by or inspired by AI art. I mean, super cute, but I did not design this. I did not make this. I don't think I have the ability to make this. Also, I encourage you to collaborate. Instead of viewing AI as a replacement, instead see it as a collaborator. Use your human intuition and skill with a generator's capabilities to create really amazing results. So instead of just using a file from the generator straight, learn how to adjust it in image editing software so it's exactly what you want. This is what we do at Jennifer Maker all the time. And when you do this, you have a direct hand in the final result. That's how we've created some of our best designs. And I think that it really works, in my opinion. And then, of course, I want you to respect boundaries. Be careful that you're not inadvertently infringing on copyrights or replicating someone else's work. Don't use artists or designers' names in your prompts so you're not drawing from their work. As fascinating as it is to apply artist techniques using these tools, I don't want to encourage you to do so, especially if the artist is still alive and working. Instead, learn how to describe the look of what you want using the words in your prompt instead. This is a great way to learn more about art styles, mediums, and movements while bringing your own flair to your projects. And related to boundaries, please pick a generator that reflects your ethics, especially if you're planning to profit from the results. Again, I currently recommend a paid account with Adobe Firefly, but check each tool's terms of service for any updates before you start using it for business. And it's a good idea to check for updates to copyright law too. For that reason, I don't recommend trying to sell AI-generated files on their own right now. Stick to making items that use the AI files instead. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope this session was helpful for you. AI is a fascinating tool for crafters and businesses, and I truly believe it is going to usher in a new era for those of us who are brave enough to try it. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Just leave your question below this video or come join my sublimation group at jennifermaker.com/sublimation group. We're always happy to help. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.